we want to disrupt the traditional mentoring paradigm, right? And it's a twofold challenge. On the mentor side, it's a lack of time and scalability. And on the mentee side, we're tackling the vexing problem of access. We have a slogan called this, it's just time to change the narrative, right? And changing that narrative means a reframing, right? A cultural reframing. Even something as simple as meeting them where they are, like their phones, from a distraction to a sense of direction. Because there are a million and one problems on this earth. And we've just decided to tackle a problem that we know that exists. And we want more people to join.
What if the prescription for unlocking opportunity in young people wasn't just medicine, but mentorship, technology, and the power of lived experience? Welcome back to the Six Pack. I'm your host, Stacy Huston, Executive Director here at SixDegrees.org. And today I'm joined by Dr. Max Madhere. Did I say that? Hit it right? President and CEO of the Pulse of Perseverance Project, or P3. Dr. Madhere, you're a board-certified cardiac anesthesiologist, making a massive impact in your community in between stints in the operating room as well. So thank you for joining me here on the Six Pack today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, same here. And we can share, that you are one of the winners for the Purpose Proofs campaign. And we were just so in love with the work that you are doing for young people and helping them to receive greater opportunities in a lot of very interesting industries. And so we're excited to have you here today just so people can learn more about the work that you're doing and we can shine a light on it. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate you.
So let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell us in your own words a little bit about your organization? How do you guys bring your, mission to life?
Okay. Well, thank you again. The Pulse of Perseverance Project is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to transformative mentorship. And we offer that service through a variety of ways. One is through career acceleration. Another one is through resources, tangible resources such as scholarships and job opportunities. And the third is through professional development. And what sets us apart is that we deliver this via free, which is accessible to our user base, engaging, and a culturally relevant experience.
I think that's fantastic. So often there is a paywall to access to expertise and those that are in careers that you want to learn more about. So I just think that the fact that you have it as a free service is exactly what that is. It's accessible to those that need it the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes it even more viable, I was saying that what really sets us apart is that um, we are in the time and age that we are currently at. We want to disrupt the traditional mentoring paradigm, right? And it's a twofold challenge. On the mentor side, it's a lack of time and scalability. And on the mentee side, we're tackling the vexing problem of access, right? And so as you can see, in my t-shirt here, right?
Yeah.
We have a slogan called this, it's just time to change the narrative, right? And changing that narrative means a reframing, right? A cultural reframing. For mentees from the communities that we serve, some of them just want to make it, right? But it's more than just about making it for mentees. For a lot of the mentees we serve, it's just graduating high school or maybe graduating college, right? The real mindset shift is serving in a purpose where we want them in positions of executive leadership. And that's in a variety of fields, not just in medicine or the healthcare, the tech space, but also in business, in law. So we can really offer transformative mentorship for our communities, right? So the reframing is from underprepared to thriver, right? From even something as simple as meeting them where they are, like their phones, from a distraction to a sense of direction. And so that is the crux of what P3 represents. And that's what we want to shift that mindset for not only the mentees, but the mentors as well, right? Because in the traditional sense, mentors always believe that, oh, I don't have time for one person, or I'm too busy with my life. Well, the thing is like we want to change the mind frame from mentors to you're not just mentoring a person, you're actually mentoring systems. And then when you offer the ability to mentor systems that just happens to be people who share a lived experience, that's where we believe the real transformation starts.
On both sides as well. I think that's really powerful, and one of the things that I'm hearing in that is confidence, right? 'Cause I d depending on where your mentee enters their work with you all, there's a confidence that needs to grow in their ability to show up and to learn these additional skills and to ask the questions that they probably don't even know to ask in the beginning. And I do think that oftentimes we think about mentors as you have it all together. And I think there's a lot of people out there that think, well, I'm not made to be a mentor.
Hmm.
But it's like, really anybody can be a mentor,
Absolutely.
right? Whether you're a positive one or a negative one, you're a mentor, right? Someone is looking to you. And so, yeah, I love the framing of your program that delivers this positive impact on both sides of the relationship.
Right. And I guess just to piggyback off of what you just said, um, if we could just think about one thing that would help both the mentees or mentors, and you talked about confidence, um, it's just the understanding that no matter where you are in life, like you're a part of a greater collective, right? And so when you're a mentee, we try to empower our mentees to give them the opportunity to see something beyond what they visualize in their everyday experience when they're young and they're trying to figure out life. But it's mentors. So many people don't realize the blessings that are bestowed upon them, and then take them for granted, right? So somebody is like, man, I do this job, but I don't necessarily. They don't really fully encompass the value in terms of what they do, right? And that is so powerful because what you realize is that if you're one person and you have a functional role in society, what that does is it transforms not only your life, but the generations behind you. And um, as a product of strong mentorship, I always, one of my greatest mentors just happens to be my dad. And he always says, like, he got this from his dad. And he said, um, children, right, if we don't supersede our parents, then there's been no progress. And the paradigm that we've created through this technology is the hope and the wish that we can put this technology in the hands of our youth, meet them where they are, so they can transform multi-generational cycles of inequities that already exist, so they can become generational curse breakers for their own families. So, it's just you know, my hope and my wish is that people understand how valuable and how important they are in the roles they play, so we can really change some of these statistics that exist in our communities and in the grand scheme of things, to make the our communities better as a whole, right? It's because there are a million and one problems on this earth, and we've just decided to tackle a problem that we know that exists, and we want more people to join.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling after this conversation more absolutely will. There's a lot that you shared there, but if you could pinpoint one of the most rewarding parts of this work for you personally, what would you say it is?
For me, it's literally just watching some of our mentees come full cycle, right? And I think that's one of the biggest barriers for a lot of mentorship organizations out there. Sometimes, and it's good because what happens is as a young person steps up to another level, sometimes we lose contact. And the way our programming is designed is that we love taking a young person, putting them in our system, utilizing our network to put them in positions to succeed. And so one example, I'll just give you one example, is that our we have a digital product and engagement intern. His name is Daniel. And Daniel found out about us through social media. He applied for our own internal opportunity, which is a monthly scholarship where we've been giving $1,000 a month since 2018. And obviously, in order to win the scholarship, you have to, you have a set of criteria that you have to, go through. So yeah, he had to read the book. Well, he read the book, and it inspired him so much that he actually started his own nonprofit organization called Boys to Men, right? Which deals with aspects of manhood and things of that nature. Um, and then not only that, um, because he's in IT and cybersecurity, we decided to hire him internally as part of our team. And since that time, Daniel has completed a certificate in artificial intelligence for Google, and
Wow.
and his part of his job is to find resources for other mentees. Well, in the role in his job, he ended up finding a resource that was local to him because he lives in Baltimore, Maryland, where he
Okay.
served as an he did a summer externship for Fortune 500 companies, including Under Armour and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Right,
It's
so
fantastic.
he's on his way. Right, and
Yeah.
so we love when we can see the influence, the impact from the beginning, the opportunity for a resource that we've created, which is a book that the Pulse of Perseverance Project wrote. That student reading the book, getting more inspired, and using that in order to create more opportunities for themselves.
That's why stories are so powerful, and it's one of the central focuses of our organization here at 6 Degrees is because we know when someone can see the story, the visual impact coming to life, that they're moved. They're inspired to either support, get involved, or see what they can do in their own life. And it seems like Daniel is an example of someone that did all those things, which is really, really powerful. So, I mean, thinking about you then, I have some guesses, but what made you want to do this work?
For me, there's a multitude of answers, and I know we
Yeah,
can be
I'm
there
sure.
all night. Um, but for me, it's just that I uh, well, two things. I myself and my partners are living, breathing examples of what it means to navigate systemic barriers. All right. And we made a pledge when we were in college together that we would A, tell our story, and B, help as many people as possible. Right. And we had a multitude, not just one, not just two. We've had a multitude of mentors who were vested in us, right? And institutions and systems that were vested in us to make sure we got to this level. So we only had one assignment. And I know my assignment, right? My assignment was to open up the floodgates and open as many doors as possible for those who come from the circumstances that myself and my partners came from. So that was really the impetus for why we started this project, right? The project where we are today, there's an entire story behind that, right? And the story started back when we were in college with myself and my partners. From making it, what ended up happening is we wrote a book, and that book was raw, it was authentic, and it not only highlighted our wins, but it highlighted things that people are relatable to, which is struggle, right? And testimonies and overcoming. That book received rave reviews, and that's where we started the nonprofit. And when we started the nonprofit, our goal was to give resources in the form of scholarships. And we're proud to say that we're almost reaching $100,000 in scholarships since that time as
Wow.
an independent nonprofit. But it's more than that. When we realize it's like scholarships and showing up to random schools when our schedules align is not the answer, right? If we really want to have tangible impact, we need to create something that is free, accessible, and current in today's time.
Mhm.
So that's where the catalyst behind the project of developing a mentoring platform or a mobile mentoring app started, because we realized, well, it's not about us, right? And it's not about just the 100 or so kids that we've given out these scholarships to. It's all about the greater collective, right? And that greater collective is where we are, where we just don't work with ourselves. We want to partner with other organizations who are already vested in this space in order to scale what they're doing,
Mhm.
right? So again, utilizing community and utilizing the greater good in order to form the outcomes that we want to achieve.
No, absolutely. There's strength in those types of partnerships, and so we always say you go further together. And so yeah, no, I we're really in line with that ethos. And when you're thinking about your work, and this happens often, I think, in the nonprofit space, sometimes there's misconceptions because you have to share the work in these mission statements and blips, and people see a little bit about your organization. They're like, okay, I get it. Right. So if there's like a perception that you wish could be clearer or a misconception that you wish could be dispelled, I'd love to give you some time to talk a little bit about that.
Well, one is that, there's a few,
Yeah.
but one of them, again, please cut me off if I'm taking too long. Because one of them is that we're more than just a charity, right? We want people to understand that yes, it's important to see people from our communities who that are underserved. That we have a shining examples of people who give back financially. That's extremely important. But also is that, again, it gets back to the point that I made earlier, where it's more about letting mentors know that what they do in whatever realm they're doing it is highly valuable and highly important in order to change outcomes. Right now, there are narratives, right? And there are narratives about a lot of our young people about who they are and what they can be.
Yep.
And those narratives are pushed to them consistently every day via television, social media algorithms, textbooks, um, and their telephones, right?
Yeah.
And so changing that narrative involves letting them know there are people out there who are doing things that are magnificent things in industries that I know for a fact that they have no idea that exists,
Yeah.
right? And it's about putting those people in a space to say, oh, I didn't know that existed. I never thought of that. All right, well, let me inquire more about that. So we put working professionals who are highly advanced in these spaces and put them in their faces to know that, yes, we're here. Yes, we exist. We're thriving. And let me tell you something about what I do on a daily basis. From the mentor perspective, it's letting them know that, look, the traditional sense of mentorship where you think, you got to drive somewhere and, meet a bunch of kids for, X amount of time, and you feel like you just don't have the time for that. We want them to know that you can do this on your own time in an asynchronous fashion, which means that you have valuable time, you have a valuable skill set, you have valuable knowledge, but we want to create it as easy for you as possible to share that wisdom, the wins that you received, but also your losses, right?
Hmm.
Your setbacks. All of that is important for the people that are following you in the next generation to understand the pitfalls for
Yeah.
them to avoid in order to be better. So the perception of this is a system that we've created, that you mentor systems, and just because you can't be with that person holding their hand on an everyday basis doesn't mean that you can't the scalability of your mentorship is not tangible and it's impactful, right? And if we put it in a space where we're all on the same platform, then more ideas come about, more successes come about for the kids that we really want to impact. And in that, you'll get a better outcome for some of these communities that we serve.
Yeah, it's when you talk about failure as someone, the first part of my career was all corporate sales and marketing, and I've been in the nonprofit space for the last decade. But you look at LinkedIn, you look at a lot of thought leadership and inspirational speakers, and I feel like every other story is failure, right? And when we talk about relatability, you even mentioned your book, Like that is what's relatable because if you try hard enough for long enough, you will fail, right? And,
Mhm.
and that's
Absolutely.
and that's part of how we learn and grow, and that's part of how we build resilience and know that we can kind of continue to push on. Um, it's when no one's talking about failure that it gives a misconception that if you fail, you're not good enough. So pack your bags, stay home, go a different direction. So I do think it's important that it's like the greater success you have, the more you should be highlighting the failures that you had on the way,
Absolutely.
to encourage someone that they can do this too. I mean, you shared this amazing story about Daniel already, uh, but I want to give space for any other kind of memorable stories of impact that either you have been a part of personally or that you've seen in the last few years within Pulse of Perseverance.
Yeah, so it's amazing that you say that because I actually do, and I don't like talking about myself. So, um, but for us, we have been in the mentoring space for a few years, and like when they say people plant a tree, and it
Mhm,
takes a few years, like a
mhm.
bamboo tree,
Yeah,
it takes a few
yeah,
years to flourish. We're just really starting to see the impact of what we've done. Um, and we have so many wins this past year. I'll give you two.
yeah.
So, um, for me, one kid, his name is Caleb Franklin. Caleb is from down here where I'm located. I'm currently located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Caleb is another person who found out about our platform through his parents. And his parents, for fortunately, were local, and they encouraged him to reach out to me through social media. So he did, and he said, "Is there a way for me to shadow you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He was in high school at the time, right? This was probably like 29. This was 2019. He was in high school at the time. He came, and I was so impressed with this kid. And at the time, I said, "Listen," like he was like, I don't know what I want to do, but my parents told me to shadow you, so I'm here." He told me the truth, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, but what do you think about today?" And he was like, "Man, it's crazy." So I was like, "Well, what did you think you want to do for a living, right?" And he was like, "Man, you know what? I was in this program in high school, and it was a nursing program, so I want to be a nurse." And there's absolutely no problem with nurses; they're highly important in our as a role in our society. But I said, um, "Listen, I was like, have you ever, prior to shadowing me, have you ever seen a doctor?" He was like, "No, man, that's the only reason why I'm here because I saw you on social. I thought you were cool. So, I understand."
Caught
And
your TikTok channel.
yeah, and so I said, "Listen, man," I said, um, "I don't give praise loudly, but I was like, you have an opportunity to go like well beyond where I am today." Right. And I was just like, think about medical school. He was like, and he looked at me like, he was like, "You think so?" So it's almost like he had a limitation on his abilities. Right. And fast forward to today, he's a first year medical student. Right. And he's gotten a couple of opportunities through the Pulse of Perseverance Project, through scholarships. And I would never take full credit for where he is, right? He has a strong, impactful village, but that's the kind of harvest that we've created. And I'll give you one more if I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, you can.
We had another, I have another mentee, and I need to talk about this because you were just talking about struggle. Met this kid um, through one of the other organizations that I'm a part of. This was a kid who actually had graduated college, and um, he was at a point where he was going to make a transition. He thought he was going to quit. He was like, "This medicine ain't for me." And I found out about like where he was in his cycle, in his journey. He just graduated college. I gave him an alternative plan if medicine was still something he wanted to do. And that plan was a plan in which I had personally done in order to matriculate into medical school. Right. And he followed it. He went to a program. It's called the Post Baccalaureate program, which is another program which helps you prepare to refortify your transcript and potentially improve your test scores. He went to that program. He got a good enough test score, and he's also an entering freshman first year medical student, and his name's Calvin Chapman. So I just wanted to shout him out real quick.
I love
So,
that. We'll definitely shout both up. No, that's incredible. And both those stories hold the same truth that it's really powerful when someone speaks. I always say speak life. My mom was a big like speak life into somebody. And it reminds me of kind of my own story. When this position opened up, a friend of mine reached out and said, "Hey, I think you would be really good for it." And I was like, "That's insane. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, like I'm not in the nonprofit space, like all this stuff. But it's like she had to kind of speak that into me first and like make me believe that I had done enough and built enough and had enough of a skill set to step into this role where I didn't quite believe in myself enough at that time. And so I think it's really powerful when we do that. So thank you for sharing those stories. They're incredible. Um,
absolutely.
we want to make sure that people that are watching and listening know how they can support you all. So please share like what do you need? How can people get involved? How can they support? Here's your chance.
So I have three of them. And one is obviously because we have a mentoring platform, their time, right? So your time means actually signing up. Our platform is called the Pulse of Perseverance Project. It's on Google, it's on Android, it's on the iOS, on iPhones. You just type in the Pulse of Perseverance Project, and you can donate your time. You mentor systems, like I said, a swath of young people at your own time, like asynchronously, and you scale up as much as you want to, right? Because it's shared, and all of the information and gems that you deliver are shared through our community. So not only do your personal mentees see that, but all of the mentees on the platform see that, as well as the mentors, right? Because we're all constantly learning. um, your talent, right? And which for us is your expertise, right? So if you have expertise, you not only your personal expertise, but if something comes across your desk where you're in a position to change somebody's life, share it on the platform, right? We have an opportunities feature on the platform to where if it's, I don't care if it's a job opportunity, I don't care if it's a financial resource, you can share that within our mentoring platform. And the last one, obviously, is your treasure, right? So we're not only a nonprofit, but because we're in the education tech space, we're essentially almost like I like to liken it to a tech startup. So our overhead is a little bit larger than the standard overhead for your typical nonprofit. So anybody, if you can imagine, for anything where you're using technology, there's a huge barrier to entry, and sustainability costs. So if you believe in this kind of work, we'll gladly take your treasure so we can continue to iterate and improve the platform that we currently have.
What you're doing is really, really special. You and your founders are truly inspirational. We're so excited to see your campaign come to life so that more and more people can learn and be inspired by this work. So we encourage people to download it. Like you said, it is free. They can explore it for themselves. I'm sure they can slide into your own socials and DMs to ask questions along the
Absolutely.
way, right?
Absolutely.
We're all here to help and support. So, Dr. Max Madhere with Pulse of Perseverance Project, thank you so much for joining us on the Six Pack today.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate it.